This is Edward Yang's last film from 2000, Yiyi. It shows us the struggle of humanity in the modern age. It became an essential piece of the Taiwanese New Wave and won countless awards, including Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival. It's a culmination of Yang's earlier work, where he explores the connection between people, the modern metropolis of Taipei, and the sense of self.
It's a story about individuals. The film is my observation, indeed my belief, that everyone in the world is equal. It's a kind of idealism, but I put it in a very human way. It's not too deep or philosophical.
The aptly named film, which can be translated to one or one after another, doesn't just show us how separated and alone we are in the 21st century, but also the duality in ourselves. The characters find themselves buried under the stress and monotony of daily life, often unable to see themselves clearly.
What inspired me to build a story like this is suddenly I realized if I focus my attention on a family with different members of each age group, that covers the entire scope of lifespan.
In Yiyi, Yang captures the entire spectrum of human existence, from birth and childhood, through adolescence, adulthood, and old age, leading to the unavoidable reality of death. The sickness of the grandma, who is the matriarch in many Asian cultures, forces them to look at their lives and themselves as individuals, disrupting their daily routines and robotic lifestyle. When the doctor suggests they speak to the comatose grandmother, each family member must face a mirror reflecting their own lives. Min, the daughter of the family matriarch, realizes that she has nothing to share. Her life feels meaningless, her career is not making her happy, and only now can she see clearly that she is stuck. Ting has a special bond with her grandmother. She talks to her the most out of everyone in the house, but her openness is partly due to guilt. Ting forgot to take out the garbage, leading to her grandmother's stroke. Ting observes her neighbors. She is curious but passive. She is open and kind, but in the end, this makes her vulnerable. Anjay, the father of the family, is a successful businessman, but he's also just going through the motions. The life in the metropolis, however entangled he is in it, is not satisfying him. He always looks deep in thought, he's looking for a way out, or perhaps even just a few minutes where he can escape this chaotic world. But life is pulling him back, and everything stays the same.
如果你是我，你会希望再醒过来吗？
Anjay seeks the echoes of the past with music and finds solace in reconnecting with nature, returning to the untouched state of the world before modernization. Losing nature and living in unnatural conditions make human life difficult. We become distant from ourselves, melting into the modern machine. After encountering an old lover and reminiscing about their connection, he eventually realizes that he has no regrets. If he had a second chance, he would live the same life. This is the point where we can see the real Anjay, the contrast between his true self and his present self. Despite his parents' and society's pressure, he fought back and escaped the way they set out for him. And this is why he has no regrets, because he stayed true to what he believes in.
我开了电机系工，阮老爸真开心，阮老母真开心，你嘛真开心，连到我是上悲哀的人。人哦，是无可能互另外一个人来甲教讲，你安怎活落去，你应该安怎过日子，迄有够悲哀，你知无？
In contrast to all this, the character who represents the freedom, creativity and curiosity so many lose in the process of growing up is Yang, the silent 8-year-old of the family, who is always examining the world around him with curiosity. He isn't just analyzing people, he also has a connection to objects. At the beginning of the film, we can already see him as an outsider, even among his peers, a small boy who is being bullied because of his size, but he's constantly fighting back against the pressure others put on him. In one of the first scenes, we can see him staring at the wedding decorators putting up dozens of pink, heart-shaped balloons. This seemingly unimportant object, which we later find out he brought with himself, will serve as a catalyst for his story. At the reception, he uses the balloon as retaliation against the girls who bully him. Later on, he's scolded by a teacher when the tall girl reports him for playing with something they thought was a condom. Yang Yang is stoic and unwavering, and the teacher who can't oppress him and show his authority is picking on him for it. The balloon motif is completed when he takes revenge once more, now on the tall girl, but misses and hits the teacher. This leads to one of the most iconic scenes of the film, where Yang Yang's coming-of-age story takes a turn. Hiding in the movie screening room, he sits down and observes as the tall girl walks in. As her skirt catches on the doorframe for a moment, Yang Yang's perception of her shifts abruptly. From the simple act of filling a heart-shaped balloon with water, we reach a turning point, where Yang Yang loses control, sensing a brewing storm of attraction.
小雨滴冲向地面的同时，不断累积，互相越来越不可抗拒。终于在一个闪电的瞬间，正电和负电又激烈地结合在一起，这就是雷。第三，一切生命的最基本单位，这就是一切的开始。
Despite his small posture and funny scenes, he's the character that brings up the most profound questions in the film.
怎么样？电梯来了。哦。洋洋，你不可以这样看人家，这样很不礼貌，那人家会生气的，知道吗？
可是我想知道他在难过什么，我从后面看不到啊。爸比，你看到的我看不到，我看到的你也看不到啊，我怎么知道你在看什么呢？
你问的问题爸比都还没想过。可是我们不是有照相机吗？那我叫你拍照，你又不想学。
爸比，我们是不是只能知道一半的事情啊？
你在问什么？爸比听不懂。
我只能看到前面，看不到后面，这样不是就有一半的事情看不到了吗？
Through him, Edward Yang can show enthusiasm and hope humans have, the joy of learning, of exploration, and of experimentation. Yang Yang's journey is one that shows the contrast between one's perception and true self. With his camera, he's looking for things others can't see. The back of people's necks, the mosquito on the wall. He wants to learn and understand the world around him and share it with everyone.
It is true that Yang Yang is misunderstood by the adults, but the film is also making a broader statement through the nape photos. There is a blind spot in every attempt to understand others.
这是什么？给我。哎，这是我哎，这我后脑勺哎。洋洋，你拍这个干嘛？
你自己看不到啊，我给你看啊。
原来是这样子啊。
原来是怎样啊？
Good example of this is the brother of Min Min, Adi. He tries to convey himself as someone successful, but in truth he is always in debt. And the sole purpose of his marriage was due to an unplanned pregnancy. His two sides are in stark contrast. His life is a lie. Yang Yang is not lonely despite the bullying. He thrives alone and finds happiness in solitude.
Being alone can be understood as the beginning of a fulfilled life, rather than the unhappy end of a series of mistakes and regrets.
The back of someone is not just a part we don't look for or take note of, it's also something that the person themselves can't see. Therefore, the obvious, the other half of the truth is always with us. We just don't look for it, don't notice it. We look at things from one perspective and accept them the way they are. Yang Yang, on the other hand, doesn't. Yang Yang looks below the surface, and in the end he takes a plunge into the unknown, not afraid to get hurt. Throughout Yiyi, the director uses mirrors, reflective surfaces, windows, CCTV and digital camera footage to create additional levels of framing and visual representation.
For photography nowadays, shooting in an urban environment, there are actually much more glass materials around than, say, just 10 years ago. Then I realized I can play with the reflections a lot. The reflections added dimensions to the visual effects.
With this, the characters become split into two beings, which supports the film's thematic and philosophical implications. In a scene where Angie and his co-workers drive through the city, we can see that they are enveloped by the urban landscape. Immersed and interconnected with this world, living life too self-absorbed and comfortable, and the emotional state of the characters, the anxiety and depression, ultimately comes from them failing to escape narrow-mindedness and embrace new viewpoints. Not just this, but we viewers take a very unique place in this world. We become the omniscient observer. The camera can look through the windows of tall, multi-story buildings. We can peek into apartments, cafes. We are the voyeur, the neighbor, and the city. The viewer gets to see the other half of the truth. The inner workings of the characters, their private romantic dates, their secrets and lies, their struggle and despair, and the intimate details of a marriage. Just as Yang's camera stops and observes, we should too, and just observe the world to show us its beauty.
没有一朵云，没有一棵树是不美丽的，所以人也应该这个样子。
In Yiyi, Edward Yang not only portrays the human experience, but also reminds us of our greatest sin, losing curiosity about the world, ourselves, and each other. Life is a timeless cycle of birth and death. People experience life's milestones, first love, heartbreak, and the loss of family members. They try to make sense of the chaos through their work and providing for their families, but ultimately we are not in control, and the river of life just takes us and moves on. Despite how this sounds, it doesn't have to be bad. We don't have to break the cycle to enjoy life. Edward Yang shows us we can turn the world upside down and look at all this from a different angle. We can notice the beauty in the world and find meaning in the things around us. We have to make the most of our lives, teach ourselves and teach others. Only then can we see the other half of the truth.